It was supposed to be a triumphant moment, a victory lap. Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, was making her big return to American television, ready to champion her new cause. But she wasn't prepared for the man waiting for her in the wings. A man who wasn't just a news anchor, but a political predator who had spent years in the cutthroat world of Washington, D.C. Millions watched Live on Good Morning America as George Stephanopoulos, with a calm smile and ice in his veins, proceeded to absolutely dismantle Meghan's entire strategy. It wasn't loud or aggressive. It was quiet, surgical, and utterly brutal. This wasn't an interview. It was a public humiliation, a strategic takedown that left Meghan's political ambitions in tatters. So how did a simple TV appearance turn into one of the most savage confrontations in morning show history? What did George say that was so devastating? We're going to break down the entire fiery encounter, second by second, from the fatal mistake Meghan made before she even went on air, to the ice-cold words that stopped her, and the royal family, dead in their tracks. You are not going to want to miss this. To truly understand the explosion that happened on GMA, you have to understand the powder keg that was being filled for months. This wasn't just a random appearance for Meghan. This was the next major move in her post-royal life. The Oprah interview had been a bombshell, severing ties with the UK press and damaging the monarchy's reputation. Now Meghan and Harry were in America, trying to build their Archewell empire. They needed to prove they were more than just disgruntled royals. They needed to be seen as global leaders, as influencers, as people who could make real change. And Meghan had chosen her first big battleground, paid family leave for all Americans. It was a noble cause, a popular cause. On paper, it was the perfect vehicle for her rebrand. She began by writing a passionate, open letter to top U.S. politicians like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. She spoke of her own childhood, of eating at the Sizzler salad bar, trying to connect with everyday Americans. But she made a critical, and some would say arrogant, mistake. She wrote the letter on letterhead that read, "From the office of the Duchess of Sussex." The alarm bells started ringing immediately. A member of a foreign royal family, even by marriage, was now directly lobbying the United States Congress. It was a move that blurred lines and broke with centuries of royal tradition, which demands strict political neutrality. The royals are meant to be above politics, not wading into the swamp. But Meghan didn't stop there. She took it a step further. She started personally cold-calling U.S. senators on their private numbers. Republican Senator Shelley Moore Capito was stunned when she received a call, and the voice on the other end said, "Senator Capito? This is Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex." Senator Susan Collins was similarly caught off guard, saying she was happy to talk with her, but was more interested in what the people of Maine were saying. The message from Washington was subtle but clear. Who do you think you are? You're using a royal title, a title of unearned privilege, to try and influence our democratic process. The backlash was quiet but intense. Critics argued she was weaponizing her title for political gain, something the late Queen Elizabeth would have found horrifying. This is the exact moment Meghan's team decided to book her on Good Morning America. They likely saw it as a PR rescue mission, a chance to control the narrative, to present her as a caring mother and activist, not a political operator. They wanted a friendly platform, a softball interview, and GMA, with its massive mainstream audience, seemed like the perfect choice. They probably thought they had it all figured out. A pre-taped, carefully managed interview segment would be shown, followed by some friendly chatter from the anchors. What they didn't count on, what they fatally underestimated, was George Stephanopoulos. And this is where the story gets really interesting. George Stephanopoulos isn't just another smiling morning show host. Before he ever sat on the GMA couch, he was one of the most powerful political operatives in America. He was Bill Clinton's senior advisor, the White House communications director. He lived and breathed the brutal, backstabbing world of high-stakes politics. He understands strategy, optics, and power in a way Meghan Markle simply doesn't. He knows how the game is played in Washington, and he knows when someone is breaking the rules. He wasn't just looking at this as a celebrity story. He was looking at it as a political analyst. And he saw a major vulnerability in Meghan's strategy. So as Meghan prepared for her big GMA moment, believing she was about to charm America, George Stephanopoulos was waiting. He had watched her make one misstep after another. He saw the use of the title, the cold calls, the blurring of lines, and he was about to deliver a masterclass in political reality, live on national television. The stage was set for a showdown, and Meghan had no idea she was walking straight into an ambush. The moment begins. Good Morning America returns from a commercial break. The mood is light. The anchors, George Stephanopoulos, Robin Roberts, and Michael Strachan, are all smiles. They tee up the segment. It's a clip from an interview Meghan did for the New York Times Deal Book Summit with Andrew Ross Sorkin. In the clip, Meghan is the picture of confidence. She's articulate, passionate, and polished. She talks about her advocacy for paid leave, framing it as a humanitarian issue, not a political one. She laughs about using coupons and struggling when she was younger, trying to build that just like you narrative. Her PR team watching from the wings must have been thrilled. It was going perfectly. The clip ends. The camera cuts back to the live GMA studio. And this is where the temperature in the room instantly drops. Robin Roberts and Michael Strachan have warm, positive expressions. They are ready to praise Meghan's passion. But George Stephanopoulos is looking straight into the camera, and he does not share their enthusiasm. His expression is neutral, analytical. It's the look of a prosecutor about to cross-examine a witness. Michael Strachan kicks it off, offering a supportive comment. He talks about how it's a great thing when anyone with a platform uses it for good. It's the standard, friendly morning show response, a soft landing for Meghan's segment. Then George speaks, and with his very first sentence, he blows the whole thing wide open. He calmly turns to the camera and says, "I've got to say, one of the things that's raised some questions is, she's talking to U.S. senators. She's calling them up as the Duchess of Sussex." Boom. Right there. That's the first shot fired. He doesn't attack her cause. He attacks her, method. He goes straight for the jugular, the one thing that has been causing whispers of controversy for weeks, her use of the royal title. He's not just asking a question, he's highlighting the fundamental flaw in her entire approach. You can almost feel the air go out of the room. This is not the celebratory chat Meghan's team was hoping for. George is immediately framing this as a political problem. He's taking her out of the celebrity do-gooder box and placing her squarely in the political operator box, and it's a box she is not equipped to be in. He continues, building his case like a seasoned lawyer. He points out that she's using the title to gain access, to get these powerful people on the phone. He's implying that if she called as Meghan Markle from California, she might not get the same reception. He is, in a very polite and understated way, accusing her of cheating, of using an unfair advantage. He then says, the British royal family, the tradition is to be above the political fray. They don't get involved. This is the second devastating blow. He's not just critiquing her as an American citizen, he's reminding everyone, including the royal family who was surely watching, that she is breaking a sacred, centuries-old rule of the institution she and Harry claim to have so many problems with. It's an incredibly powerful move. He's essentially saying, you can't have it both ways. You can't flee the monarchy, publicly criticize it, and then turn around and use its most powerful asset, the title, for your own political gain in another country. He's exposing the core hypocrisy of her position. You can see the other anchors are slightly taken aback. This is heavier than their usual morning fare. This is real political analysis. Michael Strachan, to his credit, tries to defend Meghan. He jumps in, saying, she's an American citizen. She can call her representatives. It's a valiant effort to save the segment, to bring it back to safer ground, but it's too late. George has already redefined the conversation, and he immediately counters Michael's point. Not by arguing, but by agreeing in a way that makes his own point stronger. He nods and says, she is an American citizen. But is she, by using the Duchess of Sussex title, is she getting involved in U.S. politics? He poses it as a question, but it's a rhetorical one. Everyone knows the answer is yes. He has masterfully trapped her. If she's just a regular American citizen, why use the title? If she's a duchess, why is she interfering in American politics? There is no good answer. It's a checkmate. This is the humiliation. It's not about yelling or being rude. It's about being so precise, so logical, that your opponent's entire argument collapses under its own weight. He exposed her strategy as amateurish and ill-conceived on a platform of millions. He showed that she hadn't thought through the political implications of her actions. Imagine Meghan and her team watching this unfold. The dawning horror. They had walked into a political science lecture disguised as a morning show, and Meghan was the case study of what not to do. George wasn't just an anchor, he was a former White House insider, schooling a celebrity on how power really works in Washington. He didn't need to raise his voice. His quiet, calm dissection was far more brutal. He didn't just disagree with her, he delegitimized her. He suggested that her access, her power, wasn't earned through hard work or brilliant activism, but was borrowed from an institution she no longer fully represented. The rest of the segment is just the anchors trying to move on, but the damage is done. George Stephanopoulos, in less than 90 seconds, had completely reframed Meghan's entire campaign. He turned her PR victory into a PR disaster. He didn't just ask tough questions, he provided the devastating answers. He showed the world that while Meghan Markle may be a master of Hollywood PR, she was a complete novice in the world of politics. And he did it all with a calm smile. Live on Good Morning America. The fallout from George's comments was immediate and explosive. It was like a bomb had gone off in the middle of the celebrity news cycle. Within minutes, clips of the GMA segment were everywhere. News headlines weren't about Meghan's noble cause for paid leave. They were all about the confrontation. George Stephanopoulos grills Meghan Markle. GMA host questions Meghan's use of royal title. The conversation had been completely hijacked. George's surgical critique set the narrative for the entire story. The public and the press were no longer debating the merits of paid family leave. They were debating the merits of Meghan Markle's tactics. This was a catastrophic failure for her PR strategy. Her message was completely lost. The public reaction split into two predictable but fierce camps. On one side, you had critics who cheered George on. They flooded social media, saying, "Finally, someone called her out." They saw him as a truth teller, a serious journalist cutting through the celebrity fluff. To them, Meghan had been using her title inappropriately, and George simply stated the obvious. On the other side, Meghan's supporters were furious. They accused George of being misogynistic, of trying to silence a woman of color who was speaking up for an important cause. They argued that he wouldn't have questioned a man in the same way. They saw it as another example of the establishment trying to tear Meghan down simply for trying to do good in the world. But here's why the damage was so profound. The critique didn't come from a random tabloid or a royal commentator in the UK. It came from a respected mainstream American journalist on a major American network. And not just any journalist, a man with deep, undeniable credentials in the very world Meghan was trying to enter. George's background in the Clinton White House gave his words immense weight. It was an insider's verdict, and the verdict was, she's doing it wrong. Meanwhile, you can only imagine the reaction behind palace walls in London. While they would never comment publicly, this incident would have been their worst fears realized. It confirmed their anxieties about Harry and Meghan operating as rogue royals in America. Meghan, using her ducal title to directly lobby a foreign government, was a constitutional headache and a diplomatic nightmare. George's public questioning of it on a huge platform like GMA would have been seen by the palace as a moment of vindication. It proved their point that the Sussex's hybrid royal celebrity model was unsustainable and problematic. The deafening silence from Buckingham Palace in the days that followed spoke volumes. They didn't need to say a word. George Stephanopoulos had said it all for them. As for Meghan's camp, they went into full damage control. There were no triumphant follow-up interviews, no victory lap. The momentum was completely stalled. They had been publicly outmaneuvered. The incident reportedly led to a major rethink of their strategy. It was a harsh lesson that the rules of Hollywood, where celebrity is currency, are very different from the rules of Washington, where protocol and propriety are everything. George Stephanopoulos didn't just humiliate Meghan, he gave her a brutal and very public education. So what can we take away from this incredible television moment? It was far more than just a little morning show drama. It was a fascinating clash of two worlds and two very different kinds of power. On one side, you have Meghan Markle, who represents the power of modern celebrity, media savvy, and personal branding. She believes her platform and her passion are enough to create change. On the other side, you have George Stephanopoulos, who represents the old guard power of institutions, political machinery, and strategic thinking. He understands that in the world of politics, it's not just about what you want to achieve, but how you go about achieving it. The process, the protocol, the unspoken rules, they matter. Was George Stephanopoulos out of line? Was he a journalist just doing his job? Or a political shark who saw an opportunity for a takedown? His defenders would say he was performing a vital journalistic duty, asking the tough questions, and holding a public figure accountable. He saw a legitimate point of controversy, and he addressed it, which is his job. Meghan's supporters would argue he went too far, that he chose to focus on a minor protocol issue instead of the major humanitarian cause she was promoting. They might see it as a deliberate attempt to undermine her, colored by the institutional bias against a woman who dared to challenge the status quo. Ultimately, the moment served as a brutal reality check for Meghan Markle's ambitions. It demonstrated that if she truly wants to be a player on the political stage, she needs to learn the game. Her celebrity status and royal title can open doors, but as George so expertly demonstrated, they can also be her greatest liability. They invite scrutiny and accusations of unfairness that a regular citizen activist would never face. This GMA showdown wasn't just a fleeting, awkward moment. It was a defining event that likely shaped the Sussexes' entire public strategy moving forward. It was a lesson, delivered live to millions, that in the serious world of politics, good intentions are never enough. But now I have to turn it over to you. What do you think? Was George Stephanopoulos right to call out Meghan's use of her royal title? Or was it an unfair attack designed to silence her? Was this a case of journalistic integrity or a calculated public humiliation? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments section below. I read every single one, and if you want more deep dives into the most dramatic and controversial moments from television history, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You won't want to miss what we have coming up next. Thanks for watching. For